With all the buzz after the draft lottery being around the Dallas Mavericks and how they're basically going to get Cooper Flag after jumping up 10 spots in the lottery, I feel like it's underlooked how the San Antonio Spurs jumped up 6 spots and had the second overall pick. As you can now make the point that the Spurs just basically got gifted Giannis Antetokounmpo. What is up, y'all, and welcome back to another video. And before we get into everything about this video and Giannis, make sure you guys like the video and subscribe. It helps me out a lot. And now let's get into it, man. This is a juicy one. And before the draft lottery and all the stuff that just happened, I feel like the Spurs were one of the top contenders to get Giannis Antetokounmpo, but I personally felt like the Houston Rockets had the best trade package to offer. But now I completely changed my mind after everything that happened today, and we're gonna get into potential offers that I think would work for Giannis Antetokounmpo and the San Antonio Spurs later in this video. But before, I want to talk about the context and basically what was happening before the draft lottery even started. So just a few days ago, I made a video on Giannis and potentially going to New Orleans in a swap with Zion and Giannis, basically, and then a couple first-round picks. And I made the argument that, you know, the Pelicans are a strong suitor for Giannis because they own a couple of Milwaukee's future first-round picks. So it would make sense for, you know, a Zion-Giannis swap, and then the Pelicans would just throw in those 2 Milwaukee first-round picks. So make sure you guys check that out. But, you know, it kind of just got completely outdated in just one draft lottery, and you know, we're going to talk about it later, but that's just something to start with context-wise. And I also wanted to throw in there how the San Antonio Spurs and Houston Rockets are teams to watch for Giannis Antetokounmpo. This is per Brian Windhorst, and, you know, this was 10 hours ago, so this is before the draft lottery even started. So I feel like the San Antonio Spurs overjumped the Houston Rockets in that talk, and I feel like Brian would agree with me now there. But yeah, I just want to show how that's, like, crazy how things can happen in just one draft lottery. The Spurs just jumped up so high just to get the number 2 overall pick. And in my opinion, you know, like I said earlier, Adam Silver just basically gave the San Antonio Spurs a dynasty and Giannis Antetokounmpo. And to add on to the fire, we also got a tweet from NBA Central, and this is the source Amico Hoops. And basically the quote goes, or the tweet goes, Giannis Antetokounmpo is reportedly intrigued by the idea of playing in a state with no income tax. And, you know, just if you guys don't know what income tax is, you know, it's paying tax for your house, basically. Like, you have to pay tax on your income. And some states that offer no income taxes are as following: Alaska, Florida, Nevada, New Hampshire, South Dakota, Tennessee, Texas, and Wyoming. And at this time, we basically narrowed the Giannis sweepstakes to the Heat, Rockets, and Spurs. Maybe the Mavs could do it too now that they have the first overall pick, but I feel like the Mavs might just build with Cooper Flag now. But, you know, in my opinion, this is before the draft lottery as well, and it basically had us down to the Rockets and Spurs, if you really think about it. And now that the Spurs jumped to 2, that just basically, you know, put them in the major front runner for Giannis. And, you know, it's kind of cool, like, seeing this Giannis sweepstakes roll out and seeing what teams jump to the top of that list. And, you know, I feel like the Spurs had the very best package that they could offer for Giannis. And guess what? The Spurs don't only have the second overall pick, they also have the 14th. So they have 2 lottery picks that they could throw at Giannis, plus an additional, you know, however many first-round picks it takes to get Giannis. So they have 2 from this year, and then whatever first-round picks that they have in the future, along with probably some guys such as a Keldon Johnson, maybe a Devin Vassell, some guys like that. They have some great assets. But if the Spurs could keep Stephon Castle in this scenario, that would be insane. But also, if they have to throw in Stephon Castle, it makes sense. But, like, they just have so much to offer for Giannis. It's just insane to me. But yeah, now coming back to this tweet, we're going to try to brainstorm some potential trade offers that the Spurs could give the Bucks, and some trade offers that I feel like are fair at both sides. So, you know, this is before any salary. You know, this is going to be in the offseason, obviously, so it's going to be during free agency, and teams can basically work and mess around with the salary. But I know the Spurs don't have too much cap tied up because Wemby, rookie contract, Stephon Castle, rookie contract. Chris Paul's not making too much, and it's just basically De'Aaron Fox. So I feel like De'Aaron Fox and Vassell and Keldon Johnson are making the most money here. But I think it's, you know, it's very easy to work with the Spurs because they don't have that much bad contracts in their team. But yeah, now brainstorming some potential trades that we'd have to throw in. And just to keep note, the Bucks do not have their first round pick for the next 2 years, so they're gonna have to get some guys so they can at least win some games here. They don't have to be a championship contender, but some guys that they can keep them around the play-in maybe. And, you know, potential guys that come to mind you could probably throw in are both Keldon Johnson and Devin Vassell, and I'm sure those 2 contracts will basically make it work out anyways, you know, salary cap wise. But you throw in those 2 guys, you add the 2 first round picks from this year, and then you could throw in whatever other first round pick that you need to get it done. You could also throw in a guy like Harrison Barnes that might make the cap work. You have a lot of flexibility here, and, you know, it's not horrible. You have Jeremy Sochan as well. He's another young guy who has some type of potential, and, you know, he would be coming off the bench if they get Giannis anyways. So it would be working around that package. But if they could keep Stephon Castle in this, that would be amazing. I understand if they can't, but, like, if the Spurs can somehow do that, they would have a starting 5 looking like De'Aaron Fox, Stephon Castle, whatever 3-man they can get. I mean, maybe they keep Keldon Johnson, who knows, but I'm sure they'll throw him in the trade. But just anything, just brainstorming. They could keep Harrison Barnes and run him at the 3. He's not a bad player anymore whatsoever. He had a game winner on my Warriors this year, so, Harrison Barnes can still hoop. And then at the 4 would be Giannis, obviously, and then at the 5 would be Wemby. That would be insane. Think about it. Fox, Castle, Barnes, Giannis, and Wemby. That's an insane starting 5. And just looking at all the other teams, I cannot think of any team that would, be able to trade Giannis without gutting all their young core, gutting most of their, young core. And the Spurs could trade for Giannis without really hurting their young core at all. That's insane to me. And I feel like by far they have the best trade package for Giannis. And, that second overall pick just basically pushed them over the edge because, like I said earlier, you have to entice the Bucks enough for where they can, compete because they don't have their first round picks. So, guys like Dylan Harper, whoever the Bucks draft number 2, guys like, Devin Vassell, Keldon Johnson can get buckets, so both can win games for you. Maybe not, a lot of games, but they can at least win you some games. So you need guys that can win some games, as the Bucks honestly would be put in the best position possible if they trade with the Spurs, and obviously likewise for the Spurs, they'd be put in a great position. So I don't know, man. Let me know in the comments what you guys think about this. But in my opinion, everybody's talking about the Dallas Mavericks jumping to 1. That's an insane feat. They jumped 10 spots. That's crazy. But I feel like the Spurs jumping to 2 could be even more league changing. I don't know, man. Let me know in the comments what you guys think about this. Make sure you guys like the video and subscribe like I said before. And yeah, man, we out. That's crazy.